This week on the Kentuckiana Travel Ball Podcast, we have Daylen Lile, the number one player in the state of Kentucky and arguably the best high school player in the country. We asked Daylen about his draft prospects and about his past high school season. We also have Coach Rick Arnold, the head coach of the number 6 ranked team in the country, Trinity High School. This week's podcast is brought to you by GuardianBaseball.com. Shop for top baseball and softball gear. Locally owned, free shipping, free returns. Use the code Kentuckiana Travel Ball for an additional 15% off. Let's get to it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kentuckiana Travel Ball Podcast. My name is Tigridge. I'm your host. As always, I'm joined by Rick Hines. What's up, Rick?
What's up, T? What's up, everybody?
So we've got an awesome episode today. I'm super duper excited because we got the best high school player in America sitting next to us right now. Mr. Dalen Lile is with us. Coach Rick Arnold, Trinity High School baseball coach, is also in the building. So once we're done with Dalen, we're going to switch and ask Rick a few questions. Dalen, what's up, man?
Nothing much. What's going on with y'all?
Man, we're excited you are here. So this is pretty cool for Rick and I because we've watched you play quite a bit, and we're excited about your future, and we're excited about, obviously talking to you about some things that have been going on. And man, you've been an exciting player to watch. And I will say this. Is as good of a player you are on the field. All your coaches have always told us you're that good of a person off the field. So we appreciate you doing this. This is awesome, man. You're a great ambassador for baseball in Kentucky. So I got to tell you, our listeners are baseball fanatics. So it's people that are coaches, parents, players that are trying to play. So we have a ton of fanatic baseball people. So we're going to try to dive deep here a little bit, all right?
All right.
So let me rattle some things off here. 558 batting average. This is for your high school season. 58 hits, 60 RBIs, 18 home runs, 12 triples, which I think is incredible because you have to have some next level speed to get 12 triples at the high school level. 41 walks, 160 plate appearances, and you struck out 7 times. That's insane, man.
Dang.
I mean, so they say that you're the best high school hitter in America. The stats obviously prove it. 2021 perfect game, National High School Player of the Year. 2-time Gatorade Kentucky Player of the Year. Kentucky's Mr. Baseball. First team Max Preps All-American. PBR Kentucky Player of the Year. Good, man. It just goes on and on and on. Dalen, what do you attribute all this stuff to, man?
Just all my hard work and dedication that I put into the game, all the sacrifices that I had to make. So all the hard work has paid off, and I'm glad that it has.
Well, talk to me about that. So when we're talking hard work, what's that look like for you? So I've heard that you go spend hours in the cage and you hit and hit and hit and hit. Talk to me about that. I mean, I want to go a little bit deeper into that. What's that look like? Where are you doing it? What's all this? How are you doing this from a batting perspective?
So I basically hit like 6 days out of the week, and I'll spend like over hours just mastering my craft because that's what I'm known for, my hitting.
Right.
So usually I'll just go up to Legend Sports Academy,
Okay.
put some work in, or during season hit with Trinity and still go to Legends to hit.
Yeah.
So it was just a grind for me hitting.
So, all right, man. So my background's golf. I played golf professionally. And one of the things for me, when I would hit range balls, when I was playing professionally and I would hit range balls, my hands, I would just tear my hands up. Mm-hmm. So obviously you're doing the same thing batting, right? I mean, you're leaving with calluses, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I have a lot
Blisters.
of calluses. I need to put some lotion on these hands.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I mean, that's pretty incredible. So when you're in the cage, now again, so I'm going to go a little bit deeper here. So this isn't your normal kind of interview that you've probably had in the past. These are baseball fanatics. So when you're in the cage, what are you working on? When you say you're mastering your craft, what are you doing? Is it different drills? Are you taking different fastball, curveball? What exactly are you doing when you're in the cage?
So I work on like certain things. Like I'll hit off the tee, and I'll work on like certain drills just to work on me going gap to gap.
Okay.
And I would like set the tee outside, inside, down the middle, just to help me, like if it's an actual pitcher throwing, just take it where I need to.
Yep.
And then I'll go straight into front toss, and I'll do a no stride drill, and that helps with my lower half, just all lower half, so I can generate all the power.
So you're keeping your feet still on the ground, and you're just swinging.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll just turn my hips and use my hands.
All right.
Then after that, I'll do a couple rounds. Like first round, I'll go oppo, and then I'll go gap to gap or pull side. Then I'll go straight into BP, and first round I'll just go literally oppo just to work on the opposite side, but I won't go like down the line or anything. I'll just go straight into left center.
Okay.
And then next round I'll go gap to gap.
Yep.
After that, pull side, and then if I have any time, go right into machine work so I can see velo up close.
Okay. I like you, man.
So you have a routine on a normal basis.
Yes, I keep the same routine every day.
Same routine.
Now, is this something you developed, or has people helped you develop this routine over time?
Certain people. I mean, when I was younger, I was just literally just swinging, just do what like I had. And once I like got older and got around like baseball guys, they actually helped me with like certain things in my swing or just like my mechanics.
Right. Man, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm blown away by, again, so Rick and I coach an 11U travel team. And one of our other coaches is like, yeah, we saw Daylen up at Legends hitting. And he's like, man, it's impressive watching him hit. But people see you there constantly because you're always there. I mean, it's insane how much effort and work you've put into this. And I think that's kind of the big reason. And you hit on that when we first started. It's all about the work you've put in. And even though you're 18, you're a high school senior, it's kind of paying off right now.
Yes, it is, in a big way.
In a big way. So we're going to get there.
Yeah,
we're going to get there. But, Rick, so these batting numbers, right? So he's hitting 558.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, so Trinity, they were the top dog from the get, right? So they're
right.
the number one team in the state from the get-go.
Yeah, they saw everybody's best
you're
pitcher.
Seeing everybody's ace.
Yeah.
You're not seeing third and four guys down the list. You're seeing everybody's best pitcher.
Yeah, you don't go play Trinity and throw your number 5 starter. You know, you're wanting to put your best out there, and
all right,
he obviously excelled.
So we're going to start this direction. What made you pick Trinity?
I just wanted to get away from public school and have the same opportunity in education and also athletics like my brother.
Okay.
Because he went to St. X.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
I wanted the same like education that he had and just get away from public school.
Okay. I mean, but
Went to the rival.
Yeah. So what made you pick the Trinity baseball program in particular?
Just because when I was younger, I used to take pitching lessons with Coach Arnold, and that was whenever I was a pitcher, I guess,
right?
if you could call it that. But and we just had a good relationship and a good bond, and I just wanted to learn from Coach Arnold.
There you go.
I just chose Trinity.
It's good. It's a good reason. We're gonna have to ask Coach Arnold why he didn't let you pitch more. But yeah, I mean that's pretty cool, man. All right, so you signed with U of L. What has been Coach McDonald's pitch right now?
I mean, he's just trying to get me on campus and everything.
I understand.
So, I mean,
as big U of L fans, we are too. But obviously, you're going to have some big decisions to make. But what's he telling you right now? What kind of advice is he giving you?
Just take everything in, because I mean, it's a crazy process, and you only get it once. So just do what you do, and just never take anything for granted.
Obviously, at a place like U of L, he's not making any promises. He's not, that's a top-end program. And their whole goal is to get guys to the show, right? So that's what they're built on. And there's been several guys that have signed with U of L and gone in the draft and signed without going to college first. What's going to weigh on your decision on that? So obviously the draft's on this weekend. What do you think is going to be the biggest kicker? Is it going to be where you go in the draft, or is it going to be more about who it is, or what's your mindset there?
To me, it really doesn't matter. I mean, because I'll play for anybody, and I don't care what round I go in. As if I get drafted, that's great because, I mean, it really shows off all my hard work. But right now, it's just my main focus is U of L because that's where I'm signed.
Right.
So that's just basically my main focus, and then worry about the draft when it does come.
Okay, so let's say you make it on campus. What are you going to study?
I'm going to do sports administration.
There you go, man. I like it. That's a good one. It's a great one. Rick, you had a question about, so we're a travel ball podcast. Right. So, Rick, ask him your travel question here.
Yeah, since we're a travel ball podcast and most of our audience, is involved in travel ball in some fashion, how'd you get started in either travel ball or, how'd you go down that road from an early age? Did you start in rec ball and then decide travel ball was the next option? Kind of how did that look like for you growing up playing baseball?
So I first started at East Louisville Bats.
ELS, all right.
I played for them when I was younger, from 9U to like 11U.
Okay.
Then I switched and played for the Louisville Shockers whenever I was 11. Then I played for the Linden Lightning next.
Oh, wow.
So I was playing up, and I was like 11 years old. So I would always play up, and then the next year I played for the Sting, and I played down in my own age group.
Right.
And then after that, played for Team Eastern Select 13th year. Then I got away because that same year I committed, and I wanted to like play on that national circuit and be around the best.
Right.
So I decided to play for the Dillon's Dodgers out of Tennessee.
Okay.
Wow.
And then after that, came back home because, I mean, just being away.
What's that look like? So you're playing from a team in Tennessee. I mean, obviously you're not practicing them with them weekly. Are you just showing up for tournaments and playing? Is that what that is?
And just put all my hard work that I was doing here.
That makes sense. Okay, that's awesome.
Interesting.
And then obviously, I guess as you got into high school, your summer ball ended up being. I know you played on a Canes team at one point, so it was all kind of more the national level type stuff, right?
As soon as I committed to Indiana, my 8th grade year, I just wanted to like take it to a different level.
Hang on.
You committed in 8th grade?
Wait a minute. to IU in 8th grade?
Yes, sir.
Wow. All right. That's cool. Okay, that's awesome. And then, I mean, so how does that look as an 8th grader? I mean, that's got to give you kind of a big head, right?
I mean, not really, because, I mean, as soon as I got that offer, I was just like, oh, wow, like, I don't know what this is. But, I mean, once they actually told me what it was, then I was like, I want to commit. And then after that, my whole mindset changed on my hard work and everything.
Okay.
So I had to.
So it made you work harder?
Made me work harder because I knew I could actually do something with the sport. So
that's great to hear. Sometimes you get that offer, you get committed, and then you just say, oh, I got it in the bag. I don't have to do anything. Yeah, so you did the opposite.
Because I was always playing local, and I wanted to get on that national circuit and play against the best.
Right.
And actually prove myself.
Yeah. Well, and obviously you've done that. So let's talk about proving yourself a little bit. So we've looked at some of these mock drafts. And, man, it's funny because I'm sitting here thinking, do these guys even know what they're talking about? Because we'll read some of the bios on you, and it's like, oh, average speed. But then you go to the combine, and you got the second fastest speed there. It's when you look at these mock drafts, what goes through your mind? What are you thinking?
I mean, I look at it, but it really doesn't mean anything to me. I let it go through one ear, not the other, because it's not actually the Dalen Lile that people know.
Right.
So I just like to prove them wrong and actually show off all of my hard work and who Dalen Lyle actually is.
Well, it's good, man.
Use it as a little bit of motivation.
Yeah, it's like a little chip on the shoulder.
Yeah. So what are you hearing? So obviously I know you're talking to a bunch of teams, and they're doing their pre-draft interviews with you and all that kind of stuff. What kind of vibe are you getting right now? Do you feel good about it? What kind of vibe are you getting?
I feel very confident in the draft coming up, and that's basically all I can say. I mean, the vibe is great, so I'm not complaining. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, and I'll just keep trying to elevate my stock.
Now, let's say you go high, and it's a no-brainer. You don't have any choice, but you got to go ahead and sign. Do you feel like from maturity level and kind of being away from home, do you feel like you go handle doing the professional baseball thing right out of high school?
Yeah, I think so, because playing for the Canes my 16th year, it was actually the first time I actually got to be on my own, fly by myself, take care of myself. So, yeah, I think the maturity level and just taking care of myself, I think I'll be fine.
Well, because you've done it a little bit, right? So you've done out there and you've kind of traveled the country doing that. So this isn't going to be brand new to you. Now, obviously, the pressure is going to be kind of new. So Rick and I were at a couple games, and the St. X game being one of them, and they intentionally walked you. Actually, twice. Couple times. And we were like, what are they doing? Because the situation didn't seem like it made sense to us.
2 outs, nobody on.
So a couple things. This is a 2-part question here. So what were you thinking when they intentionally walk you in these big games?
I was like, oh, wow. I mean, I can't believe they walked me because it's St. X. I mean,
right.
But I didn't take it as like anything bad. I just took
obviously
my base.
It's respect, yeah.
But it's just, I can hurt you on the base paths now.
Well, that's what it did.
What'd you say to the guy that was batting behind you after you got intentionally walked? That's what I want to know.
I was like, if you hit a ball in the gap, I'll promise you I'll score. Because, I mean, just my confidence was through the roof at that point. So I was just like.
Well, we didn't understand it because we're like, well, he's going to go take second. So you're giving a double here, and he might even go take third. I mean, what is we didn't understand the reasoning, but the thing that I thought was so cool is, I've seen you hit home runs, I've seen you hit triples and all kinds of RBIs, but when you scored after those intentional walks, when your teammates hit you in, you were pumped, man. You were fired up. And to me, that's a team player. That's somebody that's all about the team game. He wasn't worried that he didn't get his stat and he got walked. You were pumped because you were doing well for your team. I thought that was really cool. I mean, we really saw you kind of just get really into it every time you scored off
Well,
of
they put that confidence into the, like I said, the guy hitting behind him or the guy hitting behind him to, I know he's going to knock me in because I'm going to score after he hits the ball.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I mean, is that what you were thinking? Was it kind of like –
I just knew that I had to be the leader that I was. Because starting all 4 years as a freshman, I mean, I've been in that situation before.
Right.
So if I build my teammates up, because they always look at me, if I'm up, they're up. If I'm down, they're down. So they look at me, and if I build their confidence up, I know they're going to come through.
I love it, man. Well, it was really cool to see. Now, when you're at the plate, what's your approach during a game? Because, again, as we mentioned, you're seeing everybody's best. Do you get nervous? Is it a confidence thing? What's your approach when you stand up to the plate?
So before every game, I literally go on PVR and I look up every pitcher just to study them, and then I'll know what I need to do going into the box. But my approach is very simple. I just see ball, hit the ball hard. I don't care where it goes, and if I'm gonna be aggressive, because if I look at a first pitch, I'm not going to get it again.
Yep.
So I don't want to waste no time. And if it's anywhere close in the zone, I'm going to put my best swing off it.
I love it, man.
Nice.
And that's something we're kind of preaching to our kids. We always feel like that first pitch is a strike, right? Because you don't want to get behind as a pitcher. Go get that first pitch, man. I mean, that's something we've preached a ton as coaches. But it's interesting to hear, one of the better hitters that have ever come through Kentucky say that. I think that's awesome. So through the Gatorade marketing platform, they're doing this Play It Forward deal, to where you get to give $1,000 grant to a local national charity, sports organization, whatever it may be. Have you decided what that's going to be?
Yes. I mean, I really don't know the name of it, but it's like the Miracle League. So I think
that's so awesome. Okay. Actually, what's really cool is the organization that we're with actually supports all that. So that's a really cool. So it's the baseball league, basically, the Miracle Baseball League. There's a couple different variations of that, but that's super awesome, man. All right. So every podcast, again, we're trying to give value to these baseball junkies. What is your favorite hitting drill?
My favorite hitting drill is the no stride drill.
So somebody, you're getting that from somebody just doing soft toss?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it helps me build my hand speed up and also just use my lower half, because that's where all the power comes from, is your lower half. So I mean, you got to generate all that. I mean, if you got good hands but no lower half, it's not going to be what you want out of it.
I love it, man.
Now, in your normal swing, do you have a big stride normally, or do you have kind of a low, not much stride? What do you think?
I mean, watching video, if it's a pitch that I just try to unload on, it's a big stride. But I mean, not really. It's just short and compact.
Is there somebody's swing you try to emulate?
No. I try to just do Dalen Lile, best version of myself.
I love that, man. That's a star talking.
Now, you're a left-handed batter. Do you throw left-handed? Are you left-handed in general? Or how did that come about? Why did you either choose or develop to hit lefty? Is there a reason or a design, or did it just happen?
So my brother Danny is all natural lefty. So whenever I was 3 years old, I was always watch him hit, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to bat on the left side, because, I just thought everybody hit on the left side, so I thought that was the right way to hit. So I just picked up hitting on the left side from him.
Okay.
So Rick, coming from the golf world, what's interesting is your longer hitters are typically left-handed that are right-handed, because all the power's in this front side. So I got a really good friend that has competed in the national long drive competition, won it several times, and he's very left-hand dominant. He was a left-handed pitcher in high school, and he hits the ball an absolute mile, but all of his power is right here. So it's interesting to hear you say that, because I think
that front hand.
Yeah, that front hand, man, that's where that power is at. So that's interesting. So, all right, at some point, even if it doesn't happen this weekend, at some point you're going to make it to the league and you're going to do extremely well. What's the first thing you're buying for yourself when you make that money?
I'm going to buy a car.
What kind of car do you want? What's your dream car?
I'm thinking between a Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk or a Dodge Charger Hellcat.
I love it, man. That's my kind of car too. I dig it. It's more like your 4-wheel drive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dalen, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate you doing this. We're going to be a couple of your biggest supporters all the way through. So we wish you the absolute best of luck, my man.
Appreciate y'all for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, let's bring in Coach Arnold here. Thanks, Dalen.
Nice to do it. Nice to do it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble, so I'll try to stay away from some of that draft stuff.
I'll tell them the truth.
All right, now we are joined by Coach Rick Arnold. Coach, all right, so 41-2, Trinity's first baseball state title. A bunch of different rankings, but I saw one where you ranked number 6 in the nation. The most impressive thing to me here, too, is what I think a lot of people that don't follow the program understand, is your 2 best pitchers, your 1 and 2 guys went down this year. So you did this with basically your number 3, 4, and down pitchers. Talk to me a bit about this magical season.
Well, certainly it was magical. You don't win 41 games without, a few things going your way. But, we work. I think we work. Well, we outwork everybody. Period. Yep. I know that for a fact. We work and work and work, and obviously, Dalen's a catalyst for that. Mm-hmm. Has been for 4 years. Mm-hmm. So the work gets done every day, and we come in with a mindset. And y'all talked about some of the routines and things. And
yep.
Those are things that we implement, some of. And
sure.
When you have a player like Dalen who already has that mindset, it sure makes it easier to get the younger guys to follow suit.
Sure.
But let me tell you, you're a dear friend, but let me retract something if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Because I don't want it's not fair to some of our guys. Look, and I'm guilty of saying it myself. We lost 2 of our best pitchers, but I'm not. I don't know who was 1 and 2. Now Nick Thompson certainly was our number 1.
I got you.
Gavin Sinkmans was in the top 2 or 3 from the get go, but Colin Murphy and Isaiah Taylor and Garrett Brunstetter and some other guys that stepped in and did a really good job for us. Thomas Nettles and a few others really were. Competing for those spots. So,
yeah, I understand.
And certainly, you have a depth chart going in. And yep. Yes, Gavin and Nick were right there. And Gavin got hurt about 2 weeks into the season. And
yep.
then about a month into the season, Nick got some serious tendonitis. And we had to sit him out for a few weeks. And he never really got back to his full strength. He pitched 1 or 2 more games for a couple innings, but never really was the Nick mm-hmm. Thompson that we knew. The reason he signed at a Division I university to
sure.
pitch, he never got back to that form. But
sure.
Colin Murphy, wow, MVP of the state tournament, 10-0. But to your point, losing 2 of our top arms was a huge hit.
Yeah.
Huge hit.
But even if it was your third,
what happened? Oh, sorry. Go now.
Hello.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Sorry, my fault.
That's all right. All right. So even if it was your 3rd and 4th arm, that'd still be a blow. But being
Rick, you couldn't be more right.
Being 1 and let's say 3 is still a big hit.
It's a huge hit because look, it was depth. But we have a saying. We're going to outwork everybody.
Yep.
We have another saying that next man up, and that's so cliche-ish, but it's so true. So when those guys went down, it gave some of our junior arms. That needed experience, it forced us to put those guys in a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm a big believer in guys developing in practice. I'm a big believer in developing guys through hard work, before they get, in the spotlight. And
sure.
I have some players that will ask me, Coach, when am I going to get my chance? When are you going to leave me in, when I walk 2 batters? And I'm like, I'm not.
Right.
I'm not, because there's somebody behind you pushing you. And
right.
where you earn that in our situation is in our practices. And quite frankly, when those younger arms started earning that in practice, they got more reps. But if Gavin and Nick don't go down, they might not have even gotten that. And that's not an insult. They would get plenty of work in practice, and they'd be ready to go next year. I knew as our pitching went, our team was going to go. And
sure.
Losing 2 scared the heck out of me. But our pitching just from the bottom picked up, and it was awesome.
Well, let's give Colin Murphy some credit here, because I think freshman, sophomore year, he's probably not a guy that you're looking at thinking this is going to be our state tournament MVP. This is a guy that's worked really, really hard and turned himself into one of the better pitchers, not the best pitcher in the state.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt in my mind he was the best pitcher in the state, and that's not insulting any of these other really good arms out there. He played with a great offense behind him. He played with an unbelievable defense behind him.
Yep.
Our defense was the most overlooked part of our squad this year.
Right.
And probably second most was our base running. You know, you talk to Dalen about getting walked, intentionally walked. Hey, man, that's a double.
Yeah.
Dalen knows he has the green light. We have about 4 or 5 guys that have the green light unless I take it off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can run on their pitch if they get a chance. But base running and defense were really what won our close games. And of course, pitching,
sure,
goes right with the defense. But Colin Murphy worked, as a freshman, sophomore. I wasn't sure, what his role would be.
Right.
Same with Isaiah Taylor, who was 8-0. I mean,
yeah.
That gets overlooked too.
Right.
Our second game against DeSales when we had to win. He went out there and did a job for us. Again, so happy for those young men, but it's really a tribute to 2 things. One, their toughness, their mental toughness, the way they were raised, the way that they compete. And then 2, again, and I don't mean to pat our coaches on the back, but I will, because we practice those guys and put them in positions in practice every day to be ready for success.
Sure.
And that time comes for everybody if you stick with it long enough. And it did for those guys, and next year will be the same thing for some new guys.
And I should ask Dalen this, but where do you see Dalen playing at the next level? Will he stay in center field, do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely think he's a center fielder. I mean, I've heard all the talk and all the crap as far as I'm concerned about, not being able to play that spot. He played it this year at the highest high school level you can play it.
Yep.
Played it unbelievably well. Are there some things he's got to get a little better at? Yes, his direction's got to get a little better in his throwing, and a couple of things have got to get, things he's working on have got to continue to improve. But I've certainly seen him playing center field. Watch a Reds game. Watch a Royals. I watched the Royals and the Reds last night on TV. Watch their outfitters.
Right.
No offense to those guys, but they're not better outfitters. There's not better outfitters. There's a couple. Don't get me wrong, but they're not. There's a lot of outfitters that aren't better than Daylen Lile. And center field is your prime spot. Now, certainly, I think he probably plays center or left. Is my personal opinion at the next level, whether that's college or pro ball. But he can go anywhere. He played right field for us early on, so he can play anywhere in the outfield and be dynamic and outstanding.
That's awesome. I love that. So, what's your biggest need next year? So obviously you're coming off a championship season. You're losing a ton. Now you still have Corbin coming back. You've got some pretty powerful juniors.
Oh yeah.
But what's your biggest need? What do you got to develop in the offseason?
Got to win another state championship. That's our biggest need.
Yeah, well, sure.
And look, and our kids are all playing summer ball now, and they will develop. I mean, we this year the season ran later than usual because it was pushed back for COVID. So I didn't get to have my usual end of the year kind of exit meetings with players, but I will. The dead period ends for us this coming Sunday night. So when our dead period is over, I will meet with those guys when I can as they're in town, just to kind of stress what we think they need to work on. Certainly, sometimes there's some disconnect there. They're in the summer. Dalen talked about working oppo gap and working pull side and different rounds of BP. There's guys on our team that need to learn that process. Need to learn not just to yank everything or not just to slap everything. There's more that goes into being a really, really great high school hitter. So I need to have that talk with a couple guys. There are some guys that maybe played some infield that we need to try in the outfield and vice versa. So there's some things like that we need to develop. We need to, probably next year the biggest thing we'll need to develop a little more versatility. We'll need our arms to continue to develop. But again, we're going to reload. We lost our starting shortstop, our starting third baseman, our starting center fielder, and our starting first baseman.
Right, it's a big loss.
Those are some big losses. But we do that every year at Trinity. I mean, we lose 4 or 5 seniors every year, and we lose Colin Murphy and Isaiah Taylor 18-0 between the two of them. We lose Gavin Simpkins, who would have been 8 or 9-0, and we lose Nick Thompson. It could have been 9 or 10-0. So
and all these kids you're losing are going to play college,
and all of them are going to play college. Every single one of them is going to play in college, and so and that's a tribute to their hard work. And we work extremely hard to help those guys find homes, find colleges, and so it's a two-way street. It's really about the relationships. It's about finding that common ground and helping them find a good fit for college. But our need coming back next year is we've got some young arms. I mentioned a couple of them earlier. Robbie Reed's another one. These and there's several more that I'm not mentioning, but Paul Osteen, there's pitchers that are
good freshmen this year too, right?
Well, yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But we have 3 or 4 juniors that are returning that could be really, really, really good high school pitchers with a little more development. And I trust they're getting it this summer. Again, I'll meet with them and talk about it.
Sure.
And we'll spend a lot of time in the fall focused on that.
Sure.
That's where we got, that's where Colin and Isaiah made their big jumps. Where some one-on-one sessions 2 times a week in the fall are really important to our program. And so these other guys will get their innings over the summer. Then we'll come back in the fall. We'll back off on the innings because they will probably reach somewhere around where we want to get them, through the course of a high school and or summer season. Some that didn't get enough innings or might have been nicked up a little bit, we'll get them more innings in the fall to get them to that level we feel comfortable with. And everybody's plan is a little different. But we've got 4 or 5 juniors coming back that we have a ton of faith in. We've got a couple, one sophomore, 2 sophomores, at least 2 that were really, really good on our JV team that will jump into our varsity mix next year out of the chute. At least 2 of those guys, if not 3. And then we've got 2 or 3 freshmen that are rising sophomores now that are a couple lefties and a couple righties in that group that really 4 or 5 in that group that'll compete for varsity innings next year out of in the beginning of the fall. And some of those guys will play football or play basketball, so they won't. Their competition for innings will start in February when they when they get done with their sports. But we know them. We'll be following them this summer, and we'll be monitoring their progress. And they'll and they work so hard. It's such a joy to have kids that just want to work day in and day out.
Man, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to kind of what you guys do in the future. And I think to me the big difference, one of the things that we're going to do for the first time, now granted they're 11, but we're going to do kind of some end of the year evaluations. So we're going to sit our kids down and not tell them what they did wrong, but say, hey, if you want to make the next step up and make the jump and have an opportunity to play in high school, to play at a Trinity, here's some things you need to improve on, and try to give them that roadmap and trying to give them the tools to get better.
Or even more playing time next year. I mean,
exactly.
or a different position. What do you desire? And if this is what you desire, this is what you need to do to get there.
And I can, for whatever it's worth, I'll give you some unsolicited advice here. I get asked that a lot. Right? As a high school coach at a respected institution like Trinity, I get asked that a lot by travel coaches, by parents, by little league or rec coaches, by friends, of mine who have sons or daughters that play baseball. And there's 2 things I always tell them. You can't change, you can't speed up God's process, right? You can't make a kid be more physically mature than he is, but you can certainly work on footwork and some general strength. You can do some push-ups. You can do some sit-ups. You can jump rope. You can do some footwork drills. And that leads to athleticism. And athleticism makes a huge difference, which can lead to versatility on the field. And I'll give you a perfect example. I have a son who plays Division I college baseball. He was a catcher and a first baseman for us at Trinity, played outfield. Actually, was always a backup catcher to an All-American, was a starting first baseman a couple years and a starting outfielder a couple years. When a couple different Division I schools are recruiting him, one recruited him as a outfielder only primarily. Another one recruited him as a first baseman catcher type only. So, and catching was with the outfield too, but 2 different Division I schools recruited him. One didn't see him as an outfielder, and one didn't see him as
things.
And outfield and first base are way different. It's not like first and third base where there are 2 corner infield spots. They were 2 completely different spots. He could run a little bit, but my point is, and I use him as an example, we've had 25 or 30 kids like that over the last 4 or 5 years that play shortstop, can also play third base. I mean, our starting third baseman this year was a shortstop or a second baseman by trade. Our starting first baseman this year started the season, the first 15 games started in left field.
Castleman?
Yeah, Josh Castleman. So, and he's going to college to be an outfielder and a pitcher, probably not a first baseman. However, he was versatile enough to move to first base for us this year when we had a guy go down. And so, when an injury happened and when he moved there, now his coaches at Lincoln Memorial saw him playing the state tournament at first base and did a pretty good job. Who knows what they'll do with him next year? I mean, that versatility, and I could give you example after example. Dalen thought he was coming to Trinity as a pitcher and an outfielder, but I knew deep down he was coming as an outfielder and a hitter. So I joke with him about it to this day.
Why not let Dalen pitch? Obviously, if you let him pitch, he's going to be good.
Did he pitch at all in high school?
No.
Not one inning, not one pitch,
not one pitch, not in a game. He threw a lot of side action. We do these flat grounds with our pitchers every day, which are 10 or 15 pitches to just train them on release point and a few technical mechanical issues. And pitchers do those every day, no matter what, in their throwing routine. And so Dan would go out there and do them with the pitchers. But we've had about 50 guys do that over the years that never got the pitch. But
to Dalen's credit, I have heard you say, look, if Dalen wanted to be a pitcher, he'd be the best pitcher we had too, if he wanted to be. So.
And Dalen's arm is plenty good enough to pitch. Dalen's mindset and mentality is pretty good enough to pitch. Dalen was simply, and it's very rare that you have a kid that's just too valuable in another spot that you don't use him as a pitcher. There's 2 spots I see that at. Center field and catcher. You have some catchers sometimes they're just too valuable to put on the mound.
All right.
We've got one now that was Ben Metzinger at Louisville. He was too valuable.
We've been there at 11 U.
Right. And we had Dalen who was too valuable to put on the mound. We had to put him in center field.
Yeah, makes sense.
Or whatever outfield spot. It just and again, if they were Nolan Ryan, maybe they would have done that instead of pitch. But we knew for their future. And look, that's another thing. We're big on developing these kids and getting them to the next level. I mean, in school, we want to educate them and get them to the right college for an education. In baseball, it's still part of your education process. It's getting them to the right place. And if baseball is part of that pathway, then putting them in the right position is something we take a lot of pride in.
Pretty awesome, man. I love it. So you created a championship culture this year. What I'd like to ask you next is what do you attribute that to? So when you talk about a championship culture, a championship team, you have to have the culture first. You have to have the kids that are playing for the name on the front, not the back. How do you attribute to building that culture?
Well, that culture started 5 or 6 years ago. 2017, there's no doubt in my mind, we were probably the best team in the state and lost to McCracken 1-0.
Yep.
PRP ended up winning the state championship that year. And when I say I think we were the best, I think man for man we were the best team in the state that year. But in baseball, in a one-game deal,
yeah,
lefty,
can happen.
we lost 1-0, and Brandon fought, who was a future
one guy can beat
pick.
you.
But so that culture started even with some of those losses. Truthfully, that culture started, and then 2018 was Dalen's freshman year. We lost in the first round of the region that year. Got upset by a pitcher who's now excelling in college and excelling in the Northwoods League this summer. Who's going to probably play professional baseball in a year or two from now. So baseball's a funny game, but you lose a couple tough games. Won the state tournament, won the first round of the region. Drastically different successes at the end of a year, but that culture is forged by guys that won't give in. And so that culture it nurtured itself. We got a new stadium, which helped us elevate our level.
We talked about
work.
that yesterday. It's all about reps, right?
Yeah, it's all about reps.
And getting that stadium helped you get in more reps because you had a turf field.
Yeah.
And it made a huge difference.
Dalen gets 30, 40, 50, 60 fly balls a day, and he runs balls down and another 30, 40 ground balls a day in the outfield. And every kid at every position does that. Every one of our practices, because we do it during BP, we do individual defensive sessions, and we have a routine in practice, that's much like a college or a pro practice. So they're getting those reps, and that turf and that stadium is a huge, huge part of that. We've been in that stadium for 2 years. We've been to the Final Four, and we've won a state championship. There's more than a coincidence there. As long as we continue to put them in those situations, we're going to get better. It doesn't mean we're going to win every year, not at that level maybe, but we're sure going to work hard and have the ability to because of those reps and that improvement. But that culture really and truthfully in our program starts with our seniors. When you have seniors that refuse to lose, and I'm not talking about losing a game or losing even a last game of the year, that can happen, but they refuse to lose in general in life. They refuse to lose. They refuse to not leave the locker room the way we require it to be left. They refuse not to be detailed in base running drills in practice. They refuse not to, have a good round of BP because you're not at your best every day, but you can still find a way to be good.
Right.
And that can lead to being great. And so that starts with our seniors. And at Trinity, it truly starts with the seniors. Whether you're a 4-year starter like Dalen was or a kid that plays 3 years and then gets a chance to start a senior year like a Colin Murphy or an Austin Taylor.
Sure.
Those types of players develop that championship culture by being mentally tough, by, buying in about the name on the front, not the name on the back of the jersey. I tell them all, summertime, summer ball, travel ball is about the name on the back of the shirt because you're probably trying to get a college to pay attention to you.
Yeah.
And develop your game.
Yeah.
During Trinity season, it better be about the Trinity or the Shamrock on the front of the jersey because if it's not, you're playing for the wrong coach and you're playing in the wrong program.
Sure.
And then that starts with the first thing we do every fall, Teague, every fall, Rick. And I think I've done it with your all's team once or twice. The first thing we do when we show up in the fall, our very first day, whatever that is, September, though, it's usually like the week after Labor Day, we start our voluntary workouts, and whoever shows up comes, and I put them half of them in the first base dugout and half of them in the third base dugout. If I have a whistle, I use a whistle. Usually it's just my loud mouth, but I'll stand on the pitcher's mound and I'll tell them, hey, we're playing in the state championship game against whoever it is. What spot do you want to be on the field? Where would you want to be at shortstop, center field, left field, catching?
Okay.
And I snap or I yell go, and I see how they get out of the dugout and get to that spot. And it's shocking. Every year there's half of them that sprint because they've done it the year before. So
right, so they know.
And there's a few guys that come in and they just kind of half jog or 3/4 jog, and that tells me something right there. It tells me I've got to teach and coach better, right? It gives me a gauge of what I've got to do to motivate these guys because, again, do you sprint to your spot every time, every inning of every game? No. No, because you might be waiting on your sunglasses or your glove or your hat if you're on base when the last out is made. Right. But there's a culture that's developed there. And that's the culture. So sprint on and off, number one. And the second thing we do is then I take them, I let them get a drink of water or whatever because it's a hot September day, and we all go to home plate. And there might be 75 guys there, freshmen through seniors.
Right.
And we'll line them up, and I'll say, okay, you just hit a ground ball to short. Do your thing.
Okay.
And most of them, the ones that are returning, know to sprint down the line and sprint past the bag. But the ones that don't, it gives me a gauge. And so that culture is really, that tone is set from the get-go. But at that point, coaching only goes so far. The best coaches in our system are our players. They're the best coaches. Every coach in our organization and our staff will tell you that our best coaches are our players, because if they're doing it right, and especially the ones that are returning, they're setting that culture, they're setting that tone, they're setting that standard of excellence, and they refuse to lose. And again, that's not sometimes a 5-4 game. You might be on the short end of the scoreboard. It's refusing to lose a minute of quality work time.
Well, another thing that was really impressive with me with Dalen this year was his body language. You never saw him get down. Now, obviously, we only saw a small sample of games, but we never saw him have a negative body language on the field. And to me, that's such a big thing as far as being successful as a team.
Well, last time you had me on, we talked about body language.
We did.
And how important it is.
We did.
Something and look, I had to learn the hard way. I was a kid that moped and pouted some when I played. And I found, at some age, I got a coach that put a foot in my tail and said, this isn't acceptable. And it took me as a young man, a young player, not even a young man, but a young boy, a while to learn that. And when I learned it, my baseball life got better. And in real life, my professional life, things got better when I handled things more maturely. And I'll tell you, Dalen Lile, maybe 2 times in 4 years did I see some bad body language out of him. And, it's 2 times a week for most players.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And then as they mature, they grow through some of that. But, again, let me tell you something. I'm going to say this, and I hope they don't mind me using their first name, but Danny and Deborah Lile, period. They're not afraid to put their foot in his back end, and he certainly responds. And you asked him about being a mature, can he handle it maturity-wise? Absolutely, unequivocally, no question. If he goes to pro ball at 18, will he be able to handle that? Because he's got a foundation from home that's second to none, and Mr. and Miss Lyle have raised, 2. Trey and Dalen are 2 of the best kids I've ever met. But for me, Dalen having, led us to a state championship, like that's what I hope, every parent aspires to be, because it's really impressive. And certainly there's a lot to be said for a kid's body language, because if they get on them one time, they don't do it anymore, then that's not just a coaching thing. That's coming from home too. And that's any of our kids. That's any kid in any sport across the country. That's coming from home too. That's not just a coach's job. A coach can really have a major influence on that, but a kid that responds to that gets it from home, and that's such a blessing.
Well, all right. So let me ask you. We talked about this last time, Rick, and I think it's so important. I want to kind of hit on this again. What do you say to a kid that maybe gets thrown out stealing a base or something and slams his helmet and gets all upset and visibly gives the other team?
He thought he was safe.
Fuel.
I know I was in there before the tag. That was a bad call. That don't, sucks,
regardless
or whatever,
of the call. Maybe it was bad, maybe it wasn't.
Right.
What do you say to that kid? What's your advice to us to be able to say to a kid that has that situation?
Well, very simple. It may happen once, but it won't happen twice. So I think there's a time to really be stern with a kid. You don't want to show him up in front of everybody, but get him in the dugout and really let him know in whatever tone of voice, is your most sincere tone of voice, and say, hey, that's not the way this game's played. It's certainly not the way it's going to be played on. And that's when you take ownership. Like, I had a coach when I was young say, you guys take the credit for the win and I'll take the blame for the losses. And that truly, Tommy Malone taught me that, as he was a Babe Ruth coach of mine back in my Mutual Babe Ruth days. And he used to say, you guys take the credit for win, I'll take the blame for the losses. And that stuck with me, because in a situation where a kid does something like that, you got to tell him, this is my team. And you've got to take ownership, even though you really want it to be the player's team. But at 11, 12, 13, even 18 years old sometimes, it's still your reputation on the line as a coach. So it's my team, and you're not going to do it on my team. And now if they don't respond to that, then you've got to have the gumption to set them down, whether it's your starting shortstop and 4-hole hitter, or whether it's your whatever position in that hole hitter. You've got to have the gumption to say, if it happens a second time, or if the body language indicates it a second time, you've got to set them out. And hopefully that teaches them. I mean, I hate to say, but you're training that mindset. When we get kids like that in our program at Trinity that have had that kind of training, it sure helps us. It speeds up that process. So at 11 and 12, it's critical. I think that's why travel ball, or whether it's rec ball, whether it's all-star baseball, whatever it is, those things are so critically important. And when I coach kids that age, I had the advantage of having been a high school and a college coach at that point.
Right.
So, Division I and a high-level high school coach. So I was, and then I was out of coaching for a few years. So, when I had kids, I had to get out of it, because I couldn't volunteer and stay married. So, with 2 young kids. So, but I had that experience where I was blessed to have that experience. For coaches that maybe didn't have that path or are lucky enough to have that experience, I think it's important for them to hear what we're saying, and that's you must take that route with those kids because, again, if a kid's good enough to try to play college, read all the stuff on Twitter. Read the stuff from Tom House and the stuff from these guys that are on Twitter all the time talking about, and these college guys talking about college coaches are recruiting your parents. Right. They're not recruiting the parents, they're recruiting the kid, but they're watching the parents to see how the kid's going to respond. And it's even at the high school level. Sure. I can tell you coaches of mine at high schools all over the city and all over the state, if a parent's, over the top a little bit, it's a problem. Now, again, every parent's different and they have the right to do whatever, but to act however, as long as it's appropriate within the school's mission and mission statement. Of course. But I just think, kids want to be coached. Kids inherently, I think, crave discipline, crave structure. Right. And I truly believe that. Rick Pitino wrote a book about it. I mean, I truly believe that. And I think if you give that to them, they respect you, and then ultimately you respect them more, and they learn. And they're going to make mistakes. Sure. I mean, I've got kids at Trinity 2 or 3 times. I say one time, but every kid is a little different, and there's where you've got to coach kids a little different. Some that expectation level gets raised a little sooner, and some you've got to bring them along a little bit. So, and there's where and I hope you all do this, and you do because you all go out and get pizza and stuff and hang out a lot. We do. But I walk around during our stretching or during our what we call early work or individual work before practice, and I'm just shooting the bull with kids, trying to get to know them, find out who's got sisters and brothers, and, right? Sure. Just to get to know them. And it's a lot of kids in our program to get to know, but that is important if when that time comes that you've got to make a decision on how to train or retrain a kid. With that, he thinks he was safe, but he was out. And here's the thing: sometimes he's right. Umpires miss calls occasionally.
Of course.
Oh yeah.
So
it happens. And if again, I think for me, if I do the right thing, they'll follow suit more. So, yeah. And I'm the first to admit I've made more than my share of mistakes and acted a fool, and got what I deserve sometimes. Sometimes when I go home, I get it from my wife, like I used to from my dad and mom. But the reality is that you've got to make the right choices and do the right things, and get back to the refuse to lose mentality.
All right, last question, Rick, and we'll let you guys go. I did not ask Daylen this because I didn't want to get him in trouble. I'm not sure what the legalities of what he can and can't say, but this college recruiting has completely changed. So this NIL stuff has changed everything when it comes to college sports, in my opinion. Being someone who has been a college coach and has kids that are going to go to college, and you got 9 of them that are committed that could potentially benefit from this whole name, image, likeness deal, what's your take on this whole thing? Because Dalen's a kid that could make some real money with this.
Yeah, local kid.
Absolutely. And look, so like an agency like us who deals in social media, we could make Dalen some significant money by using his name, his image, his likeness through a university.
Yeah. I've read what Mitch Barnhart and Vince Tyree have had to say. I've read some of the IU press releases on it. I'm still learning, like most fans or coaches. I've been asked a couple of times, how do you think it's going to impact high school players down the road?
Well, exactly.
I mean, even the transfer portal.
Sure.
There's more kids transferring high schools now than ever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know where this path goes. I can tell you, it's kind of an old school guy an old school baseball nerd, which is really what I am. I think education still has a lot of value. I think amateurism has its place, but I certainly support. I think it's crazy that all these people get rich off all these kids. So I think it's time for kids to get their shake. I
agree.
Right.
I certainly think that's fair. I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, certainly Lamar Jackson or a Tim Couch back in the olden days, their value is going to be probably higher than most baseball players' values. A Brendan McKay or a Dalen Lile or someone, Henry Davis. I don't know. I don't know. It's such a short-lived window for those, especially baseball players that are there 3 years, or heck, these basketball players are there for 1 year,
right?
Sometimes. So, how I think that's going to work is, and this is the same thing, dollars and cents. If they can make dollars and it makes sense, they're going to jump on it. I do think, again, Dalen's a perfect example. I mean, he's a local kid that people respect and admire because of the way he's carried himself. Sure. And whether you're a Trinity guy or you're a competitor, you respect the way he does. Of course. And so, will people pay for some of that? I don't know. I mean,
heck yeah, they would. There's no
even
doubt
just
in
the
my mind.
Jerseys and stuff like that. Who wouldn't want a Louisville Daylen Lile jersey if you're a kid or
And I'm certainly no marketing expert, as you know, Teague, but I think at the end of the day, it's some work for the kid. You've got tax implications. You've got all these things.
Yeah,
And that's what I think is going to. That's what's going to.
That's going to be interesting.
That's what's going to be interesting. And I really feel for some of these college coaches who are going to have to deal with some of the and the compliance guys at these colleges.
Oh
my goodness, their job just got 10 times.
Yeah, your good friends over at U of L. His job just changed.
Or maybe it got easier, right? I mean,
well, so I did hear an assistant coach from a basketball team say that he doesn't recruiting changed overnight.
No question.
Right. That now it's all about negotiating the right deal between a sponsor and a kid, as opposed to recruiting a kid to come play for a university.
Right.
Yeah, the one thing, it probably takes the shoe companies out of it a little bit, and
It
some
does.
of the rumors that have been around about, the payments and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I know that Dalen, for again, the most recent example I deal with is Dalen, and he's got the draft coming up, and that's ultimately it's going to be about the best fit for him, but it's going to be about dollars and cents when it gets right down to it, as it should be, or it would be for any of us.
Sure.
If the right college came along and offered me the right money to go coach, I'd be gone. I certainly that's not going to happen, but if the right company comes along and offers you the right amount of money, you're going to be gone.
Sure.
I think
that's life.
I think the NIL stuff is going to evolve. I would expect that another year or two there's a revamping of some of the bylaws and rules and policies and regulations, because I just think no one knows where it's going to go. Look, if Mitch Barnhart and Vince Tyree don't know where it's going to go,
right? Who
does? I mean,
well, and Vince,
Mark Emmert sure doesn't know.
Now, Vince seems to be a little bit more accepting than Barnhart.
Seemingly, from what we
read.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it'd be interesting. And the thing that I think is going to be kind of scary is there's going to be a lot of these agents. There's going to be agencies. Good friend of mine, Joey Wagner, just created an agency to be an agent for these type of guys. It's going to be interesting because there's going to be sharks in the water here too.
Well, and something else that, again, I think in its own way kind of contributes to this is the transfer portal. I mean, the rumor in the college baseball environment is that if you're not a Power 5 Division I school, you're essentially a JUCO right now, because if there's a kid playing at X university, wherever that is, it's not a ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12 player, that that Power 5 school is going to be able to get word to them, hey, we'd love to have you play left field for us or be a relief pitcher for us.
Sure.
If you're a whatever conference, all conference first team reliever, and you're going to be a sophomore, you have 2 years left, and you can transfer to a Power 5 school with all the amenities they have. Right. All they've got to do is get word, quote unquote, do my air quotes here, to them that they want them.
Yep.
And then they can go in the portal and reach out to them. I mean, so with the NIL stuff, I think it's going to be, similar. It opens up, the sharks will swim, just like they are with the transfer portal, and the sharks will attack. And I know as a high school coach, I'm just going to keep doing what I love doing, and I'm going to hope that every kid that I coach has an opportunity to experience that. That's our goal.
So there was a deal. This may be common knowledge, but there was a deal that just came out with Miami's football team, where there's a giant MMA organization who's going to pay every football player on Miami's team $500 a month. And they're going to rep this MMA. So there's like 97 of them. They're paying all of them $500 a month, which for a lot of them is a game changer.
Sure it is.
That's money that they desperately needed. I think you're going to start. It's going to be about who has the deepest pockets.
No question about it.
And I can guarantee you, as of right now, Dalen could go make money in Louisville.
Oh, no question.
No doubt about it, using his image and likeness.
No. You can come to our camp next week and see how many kids want his autograph.
Oh, it's going to be crazy.
I mean, it's crazy, and it's a credit to Dalen Lyles, a credit to some of these kids. But to your point, I mean, it's going to be about deep pockets. It's going to be about booster involvement. It's going to bring back the 80s type of, these guys were giving money and getting, these schools have cleaned it up a little bit, not letting some of these sharks jump in the middle of the, the first row in the middle of the floor because of, their influence. But it's going right back to that. There's no question. And I didn't know that about the Miami situation, but I mean, who's, UK or Auburn or Alabama or USC is going to outdo that?
Well, because they're going to have the boosters with the deeper pockets.
Yeah.
Your Texases of the world. I mean, they're going to kill people because it's
UCLA.
Your
superstars are going to get theirs, right? I mean, the star quarterback at UCLA is going to find a way to sell his jersey. Yeah. But the backup offensive guard can't. But if he can get $500 a month
just for being on the team,
he's going to go there. Yeah. I mean,
and
as opposed to going somewhere else where he doesn't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, just to show up and put a T-shirt on that says whatever MMA on it. I mean, who wouldn't?
So it's going to be about who can put those deals together at the biggest and deepest way. It's going to be interesting.
Well, like you said, people are starting businesses specifically to address this and work with kids and ultimately help kids get paid. I do think they deserve. I just think that the rich kept getting richer.
I agree.
And now, but I'm not sure personally this is the best course of action, but I do think something needs to be done. So who am I to say? I just hope that college sports are forever changed. That's for sure.
So there's a girl at U of L that plays basketball on the women's basketball team. Her name's Haley Van Lith. Her estimated worth's over $1 million right now. And
because of her followers
based
on
on her
and
followers
Instagram,
on
and she will probably make upwards of $1 million this next year.
I mean, and playing college basketball,
Playing college basketball, which is honestly might be more exposure than the WNBA if you really want to get into those.
She might end up being the highest paid U of L athlete next year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That sums it up.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have if when this first started, who would have guessed that a women's basketball player? I mean,
right?
Would be more valuable.
She's from the West Coast.
She's from California.
Oh, yeah. Well, she was. Kobe was her link for a while.
Right.
She was friends with Kobe Bryant, his daughter. So, that helped her build that amass that following.
Right.
And that's insanity. But more power to her.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm a free market guy, and I feel like if you can get it because of using your image and likeness, you should be able to.
Absolutely. If we don't have free market, we have nothing. I mean, so I couldn't agree more. I just. For college sports, it changes. As a fan, as a donor to Louisville, as a basketball and football season ticket holder, it's I don't. Who knows what to think?
Right. Well, Rick, I can't thank you guys enough. Rick and I have a couple housekeeping things to do, but I am going to wrap up the session here with you and Dalen. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing Dalen over. Congratulations on an unbelievable
congratulations,
season.
Man.
Thank you. Credit goes to our kids, man. End of story.
Well, we hope you keep it up. Let's see if
can you do it next year?
Let's see you go get
Absolutely.
number 2.
All right.
Absolutely. And we've got a lot. We talked about we're losing, but we have a lot coming back, and we're very thankful for that.
Awesome. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, guys.
Well, Rick, that was fun. It's always awesome getting to talk to Coach Arnold. He is a wealth of knowledge. And, man, how good of a kid is Dalen?
He seems like a fabulous kid. Just the few moments we've had with him, seems like he's got a great foundation for a very successful career.
So it seems like he's hearing from anywhere from 20 to mid-60s where he might get drafted. He really honestly doesn't seem like he has a preference on where he goes, which is kind of cool. I mean, the kid's, all about team baseball, which is great. We wish him the best. We really hope that he goes in that top end. Give somebody from Louisville here, some baseball fans in our area, somebody to cheer for. Yeah,
that'd be awesome to see another local kid make it to the big leagues. And, he'd have a fan. He'd have a fan here.
I tell you what, man, his hitting ability is kind of second to none from what I've seen. I mean, he can hit at all areas of the field, which was interesting hearing him talk about it because it sounds like he really works.
Yeah, he practices it.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm kind of taking away is like, wow, that's something my kid needs to work on more is some of that, that oppo stuff.
Some of these kids just need to hit the ball, period.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
But the situational stuff and the ability to hit it where you want to try to hit it is just incredible.
Yeah.
Next level.
Absolutely next level. So our organization, which is Wolves Baseball, ran by Zev Bernard, we will have our tryouts. When are our tryouts, Rick? Can you run that down for us?
Yeah, tryouts Tuesday, July 27th at 6 o'clock, the 10U and 11U age group. Wednesday, July 28th, the 12U and 13U age group. Thursday, July 29th for the 14U. And then Friday, we're making up for all ages in case you weren't able to attend earlier in the week. They're all at 6 p.m., all at Wagner High School over in the St. Matthews area. There's no fee to try out, but you do got to go and register at wolvesbaseball.org/tryouts.
Awesome. So as far as our team, we are pretty set for our 11U. We're rising 12U. We will probably look at potentially somebody that could help us with a pitcher. And you had mentioned in the past somebody that maybe could get behind the plate as well. So that's going to be, our priorities as a pitcher / catcher. And obviously somebody can, run and hit helps too. But
yeah, we our team's, fairly established and we've got a good group. Obviously, we had a great season. So there's specific, not necessarily needs, but, if the specific need and specific player arrive, then, we've got a spot open.
Yeah.
But we necessarily don't have to take anybody.
I've not only heard Brad Harp say it, but I've heard a few people say you carry your age once you get to that 12, 13, 14. And it makes sense to me. Having 12 at 12 years old, having 13 at 13. So that mantra makes sense, and that might be something that we potentially look at if the right kid's there.
Yeah, the right kid's there, we'll take them.
Awesome. So once again, we want to thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Our numbers have been unbelievable, quite frankly. If you have a chance and you're listening to us on the Apple podcast, give us that 5-star review. Just hit the 5. Hit the 5-star review. Just, that helps us tremendously. It helps us get our podcast out to more people. Yeah. We want to grow this as much as possible. So those 5-star reviews help us, obviously if you feel that way.
There's no reason to give us a 4.
There really isn't. No, but seriously, if you feel so inclined, please give us that 5-star review. It helps us tremendously. We're going to roll this thing out. But as always, Guardian Baseball, and I keep trying to say this, if you're a coach and you want to do some sort of team sales, if you reach out to teamsales@guardianbaseball.com, you can get a substantial discount by mentioning Kentuckiana Travel Ball. We're going to do another giveaway. I need to talk to Matt and Zev and see exactly what we're going to do there. Congratulations to John Todd, who won our
sunglasses.
Yeah, our sunglasses. We need to see a picture of those, John, at some point. But again, GuardianBaseball.com. Shop for your top baseball and softball gear, locally owned, free shipping. It's baseball people, right? It's people that know baseball. There's no reason not to go to Guardian Baseball. I used to do all my stuff at Dick's. Now I'm going to Guardian. They have a warehouse. You can go try stuff on.
Way better.
Absolutely way better. So again, thank you for listening. I'm going to roll us out with a band because I'm doing the song thing here. Oh, yeah. So this band.
What do you got this week?
Real good friends of mine. It's a band called Outspoken. So when I was back kind of doing my music thing, they were coming up the same time. They were signed on Lava Records. Good friends with everybody in the band. This might be my favorite song of all time, no matter who it is. My favorite song, period. It's called The Way I Am. It's an unbelievable song. Check it out. It's by Outspoken. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
All right.
I break down in the middle of filling you in on my day. Sweetly, you touch and say everything's gonna be okay. Then you lead me to the place that I've been drowning, and you try to fill me after the drought. Now still I give almost anything for you. And